Welcome back to One Comic Book a Day, where we're covering Adventure Comics 148, Superboy Meets the Mummer. Now, in the grand scheme of things, the Mummer is a probably once ever used Superboy villain who isn't particularly remarkable in any way. But he has enough personality to really pull through this comic, and it is entertaining enough that I do actually find it interesting. Like I said, comics work better when you have a colorful villain at the center of it than just Superboy or Superman fighting mobsters and doing filler action. And that's actually the real strength of this comic. What should be filler action actually does feel like it's building up to the end. Now, the end feels a little rushed, and that's really like the big knock against this, other than the Mummer isn't exactly the greatest villain. He's just colorful enough to be entertaining. But it pulls you through. It never feels like the action is being somewhat superfluous or is just there because, well, they need to interest you for a second. All the action ends up earning you a little bit more for Superboy to end up solving this crime or stopping the Mummer. And I like that. I like earning the ending instead of just, well, it's that time. We've done 13 pages worth of story or 11 or 12 pages worth of story. It's time for Superboy to end this out. So the Mummer is some sort of actor, hence the name The Mummer, who's really into like puppets or dummies. He's very dummy based, who comes to Smallville to commit crime. And even when he commits his first crime, Superboy is not aware that he's up to it. It's actually kind of a mystery story, but it's unfair to call it a mystery story because it's not much of a mystery. It's not Superboy trying to solve anything. There's two unrelated crimes before the final act. And in both cases, he uses his own little puppet dummy Superboy to commit crimes, which is actually maybe his more impressive thing, is that he can build something that sort of mimics Superboy's powers. There's probably a little more interesting conflict going on there if he had them fight each other. That doesn't happen. Now, the strength of the Mummer is that he's very clever, but his weakness is pride. And both of these things do come into play. He does outsmart Superboy a few times, but he's stupid enough to leave the dummy in the bank vault for the second crime that Superboy is able to investigate it a little bit and figure out what's going on. As for the ending being a bit rushed, well, it does set up the idea that Superboy and the dummy are going to fight, but Superboy has been ahead of the Mummer because, well, he's smarter than the Mummer thought he was. And also, the Mummer is just too damn cocky to realize that Superboy would have found the dummy beforehand. He reprograms it. I actually kind of like this, though I do kind of wish they would have fought a little. It would have been a little more interesting action sequence for the end. Instead, the action sequence for the end is mostly a chase sequence where the Mummer gets punched out by his own dummy and chased by both Superboys. And he really doesn't have a chance. Superboy has one more reveal for him, by the way, which is that his escape tunnel goes right to prison. See, I enjoy the rushed ending. I enjoy these sort of ridiculous ending beats when they're ridiculous and fun. It's not just Superboy showing up and it's over. It's not just Superman showing up and it's over. He actually put in some work to really screw with a guy whose entire sin is being too prideful. He thinks he's too smart, so Superboy outsmarted him in like 2 to 3 different ways at the ending. That's actually satisfying, even when it feels like we just suddenly get to the end. There is some thought put into the idea of the villain. And so the villain of the week just getting defeated by Superboy. I know I've restated that several times, but the comics keep redoing it, so might as well restate that he just ends a villain without much thought of like who this villain stood for and maybe a way to bring that villain down by what they represent. They ended up giving him a nice weakness and Superboy exploited it. Okay, that is it from Adventure Comics 148, Superboy Meets the Mummer. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when a new video goes up. I do this Monday through Friday, but Fridays is Bat Friday, where I cover Batman storing either Detective Comics or Batman. And until next time, let's ponder the question, whatever did happen to the boy of tomorrow. And I'd be up to seeing the Mummer again. He at least was interesting enough for Superboy to fight, even if it was just for a story. Okay, have a great day.